Well, the big loser, and I mean big loser, in California last night was Donald Trump. And the big loser in the United States Congress today was Donald Trump when the House of Representatives cast an historic vote against Donald Trump's war, with some Republicans joining all Democrats in a war powers resolution vote against Donald Trump's war. The resolution says Congress directs the president to remove United States armed forces from hostilities against the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, was trying to avoid this vote in the House, which is why he sent the House on recess early just to avoid that vote. But as I said on this program at the time, when leadership is forced to send members of Congress home to their districts to avoid casting a difficult vote, that means you're on your way to losing that vote by an even greater margin when those representatives come back from their districts, which is exactly what happened. Congressman Gregory Meeks, the top Democrat in the House Foreign Affairs Committee, told the Washington Post that Mike Johnson's delay of the vote actually helped build support for today's historic vote to stop Donald Trump's war. As of today, Donald Trump probably doesn't realize just how badly his Trump candidates did last night in the campaigns for California governor and for mayor of Los Angeles. Donald Trump congratulated his candidate for governor today, saying congratulations to Steve Hilton on coming in first last night in the California vote for governor. In that social media post, Donald Trump called Steve Hilton a winner, which is something Steve Hilton has never been. Steve Hilton has never won anything. And the only other time Steve Hilton considered running for office was as a member of the British Parliament. But that campaign never even got started. The decline and fall of the Republican Party in California is now so complete that to field a candidate for governor this year, they had to wait for Steve Hilton to leave British politics, where he was one of the top advisors pushing one of the stupidest, not one of, the absolute stupidest British idea of the 21st century, Brexit, the economically disastrous withdrawal of Britain from the European Union. Steve Hilton, running for governor of California after finally becoming an American citizen, running for governor of a state that is a bigger economy than the economy of the United Kingdom, is like Steve Bannon or Stephen Miller running for mayor of London. Because of the unusual structure of what California calls its primary election, Democrats and Republicans run together. They ran together last night on the same ballot. And as of the vote count last night, Donald Trump was right. Steve Hilton was the first on the scoreboard, but that's like being first on the scoreboard at the end of the first quarter of a basketball game. Actually, it's even less significant than that. As of now, Steve Hilton has 27.6% of the vote, and Javier Becerra has 25.6% of the vote, which means that the two candidates on the ballot in November are very likely to be Steve Hilton and Javier Becerra. The next biggest vote getter is Democrat Tom Steyer with 20% of the vote. So all of those Steyer votes would be added to the Becerra vote total, the Democratic Becerra vote total in November, which would bring the Democrat up to 45% of the vote. Another Republican candidate in the race got 11% of the vote, which reasonably should be added to Steve Hilton's total expected vote in November, which would bring Steve Hilton all the way up to a whopping 39% of the vote in November if he's lucky. But there were a dozen other Democrats on the ballot last night, including Eric Swalwell. And those Democrats together accounted for another 12 to maybe 15% of the vote. And all of those votes will go to the Democrat in November, pushing Becerra's vote total in November up to 60% or more. So as of tonight, the likelihood of Donald Trump's Republican candidate for governor in California is that he will lose in November by 20 points at least. Same thing with the Los Angeles mayor's race. Donald Trump did not bother to congratulate his clownish candidate for mayor of Los Angeles, Spencer Pratt, today for coming in second in the vote count as of last night. Los Angeles County is the single largest vote counting entity in the United States of America. More votes are counted, cast and counted in Los Angeles County than anywhere else in the country. And most of those votes arrive in envelopes that have to be opened and read with signatures matched to voters' signatures on record, and that process takes a while to count them. But as of tonight, with votes still being counted, Mayor Karen Bass has 35% of the vote. Donald Trump's candidate for mayor of Los Angeles, Spencer Pratt, has 30% of the vote, and Democrat Nithya Raman has 23% of the vote. It is extremely unlikely that Spencer Pratt is going to get any more votes in November if he is on the ballot in November. So Spencer Pratt will be lucky in November if he gets 30% of the vote. When Karen Bass's vote is combined just with Nithya Raman's vote, Karen Bass would get 58% of the vote in November. But there are 5 other Democrats on the ballot for mayor who have more than 7% of the vote. So if you add that 7% to Karen Bass's total, she is easily right now on track to get 65% of the vote in November if people just vote for the party that they voted for yesterday. And so Donald Trump will at some point discover we are not going to have a Trump-endorsed mayor of Los Angeles, and we are not going to have a Trump-endorsed governor of California. There could not be a greater curse on a candidate running in Los Angeles or running statewide in California than the endorsement of Donald Trump. Donald Trump lied today in the White House when he was asked by CNN's Caitlin Collins about the Trump slush fund. Donald Trump, whose seemingly fraudulent lawsuit created the slush fund, pretended he knows nothing about it now.
Is the $1.8 billion DOJ fund dead, or is it on hold?
It's, I'd have to ask the lawyers. I don't know. I know one thing, the weaponization.
But what's your
Are you talking about
it?
the weaponization fund?
Yeah, what's your decision?
The weaponization fund, as far as I'm concerned, was a beautiful thing. It was something I didn't make it, but I heard that. I thought that was the greatest thing because people like you have abused our people so badly. The fake news like CNN, like the New York Times and like others, have abused our people.
Were critical of it, Mr. President, on Capitol Hill.
Have abused our people so badly, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You used to be a conservative. She was a conservative from Alabama. Can you believe it? But CNN, in particular, CNN does such false reporting. But now they have new ownership, so maybe it'll straighten it out.
Thanks to Donald Trump's corrupt manipulation of federal law, including antitrust law, David Ellison, who used his father's money to buy the combined companies of Paramount and CBS, has also used his father's money to buy Warner Brothers, which owns CNN. David Ellison has now, in the words of Scott Pelley, murdered 60 Minutes for Donald Trump. David Ellison yesterday fired 60 Minutes correspondent, the former CBS News anchor Scott Pelley, for Donald Trump. That's why that happened. That's the new ownership Donald Trump is looking forward to when David Ellison gets control of CNN. In his rambling response to the question about his desire to give unlimited amounts of federal money to his supporters who attacked the Capitol, tried to kill Capitol police officers, and tried to kill Vice President Mike Pence, Donald Trump said they went there with love.
People that went there with love. They went there with love.
So there he is, rambling along in his praise of the people who attacked the Capitol for him. And he says, you heard him say this, he said, people that went there too. And he stops himself right there after that word too, because he realizes he cannot say what they went there to do. He knows what they went there to do. And so he abandons that sentence that he started and changes it to, They went there with love. Let's watch Donald Trump at his sharpest there, catching himself in the middle of that sentence and switching it.
People that went there with love. They went there with love.
He knows what they went there to do, and he knows he can't say it. He knows that Special Prosecutor Jack Smith indicted him for conspiracy against the United States of America to try to overturn that election, and he knows that's what those people went there to do, overturn that election for him, kill the vice president for him, kill Capitol Police officers for him. And the man who demonstrates every day that he has no idea what love is tells the lie that the most hateful, violent protesters who have ever risen up against the federal government in Washington, D.C. went there with love. Marco Rubio's unofficial campaign for president or vice president has, of course, been underway since the first day of the Trump presidency. And today, candidate Rubio found himself once again trying to defend the indefensible in a congressional hearing where his defense of Donald Trump became one of those, well, in the eyes of the beholder defenses. And so it's your turn as a beholder to watch the video and decide for yourself who's telling the truth, Marco Rubio or Congressman Ted Lieu.
You have been at multiple meetings with President Trump. In a moment, I'm going to show you a video of one of these meetings. It is from last December. It's a cabinet meeting. I'm going to ask you to focus on President Trump, and you will see that he is sleeping while you are talking.
Oh, my God.
Please show the video.
Products they make and what American farmers grow and produce has a fair shot to be sold around the world. On issue after issue, that's been the case. You talk about foreign aid reforms. This is not our money. This is taxpayer money.
Secretary Rubio, have you been at more than one meeting where President Trump has fallen asleep?
That's false. That's false. I've never seen him fall asleep. On the contrary, the guy doesn't sleep, which is a big problem because he calls me at 2 in the morning. He calls me at 5 in the morning. And, you know, I like to sleep a little bit, maybe not 12 hours, but at least 6. So he works. The other day he was at the Oval Office until 12:30 p.m. 12:30 a.m. I don't know what you're talking about.
Secretary Rubio, I'm going to show you in a moment a video that shows you just lied to Congress.
Oh, okay.
So this is a video of a cabinet meeting literally from last month where Donald Trump is sleeping while you are talking. Please show this video.
Coalition of countries that line up behind the peace deal, behind the border peace, and it's still every day is a challenge, but it's been driven personally by the president. It's the reason why we're involved in this whole Ukraine-Russia conflict. That's not our war. It's not the president's war. This war started. It never would have happened if you've been president. But this war is going on, and the president is trying to end it.
You are literally talking about issues of war and peace, and Donald Trump is sleeping right next to you.
No, he's not.
If Donald Trump cannot stay awake at these important meetings where the cameras are rolling, imagine what he's like when the cameras are not there.
Good point, but it's worth remembering that the only time that Donald Trump is definitely not lying, except possibly to himself in his dreams, is when he is sleeping. We have breaking news at this hour. MS Now is now reporting that Donald Trump plans to nominate his acting attorney general and former criminal defense lawyer Todd Blanche as attorney general for Senate confirmation. MS Now is reporting President Donald Trump is expected to nominate acting attorney general Todd Blanche to serve in the role permanently in the coming days. A senior administration official confirmed to MS Now. Leading off our discussion tonight is House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. Mr. Leader, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I want to begin with your reaction to this breaking news of Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyer, now being likely offered for Senate confirmation to the permanent role of Attorney General.
Good evening, Lawrence. Great to be with you. Todd Blanche is not qualified to be the Deputy Attorney General, the Acting Attorney General, and he certainly is not qualified to be the United States Attorney General. The role of that particular position is to serve as the people's lawyer. Todd Blanche has been acting like Donald Trump's lawyer, which was his former position, but he has failed to transition in terms of behaving in the best interest of the American people. And we know this based on example after example, most recently, his decision to help initiate the corrupt $1.8 billion slush fund, which they've only backed away from temporarily because of intense public pressure.
I want to get your reaction to what you see in the congressional map as of last night. I know this is difficult because California is still counting votes, but there was a redistricting in California specifically designed by the Democrats to deliver more Democrats from California to the House of Representatives. How is that looking as of today, if you can tell anything about it? And what about the rest of the map nationally?
When it's all said and done, we believe we'll pick up an additional 5 seats in California. And in Texas, by way of example, the Republicans who claim that they're going to pick up 5 seats will be fortunate if they gain 2 or 3. So we'll net more out of California than they'll net out of Texas. And then when we go state after state after state, despite the Republican efforts to try to gerrymander the national congressional map as part of their toxic scheme to rig the midterm elections, they're going to be unsuccessful. They will not get 4 seats out of Florida. They will fall far short of that. And of course, Democrats stand poised to pick up seats all across the country because Donald Trump and the Republican majority in Congress has been a failure. Costs haven't gone down. Costs have gone up. Life has gotten more expensive. Republicans have gotten us into this reckless and costly war of choice over in the Middle East when Donald Trump promised to stop wars, not start them. And I think the American people increasingly recognize that if they want a Congress that actually is designed to make life better for the American people, you got to put Democrats in charge. We will actually focus on driving down the high cost of living and fixing our broken healthcare system.
You know, I said on this program when I saw Speaker Johnson put the House in a recess because he didn't think he had enough votes to defend against the War Powers resolution that you were forcing a vote on in the House. I said at the time, if you put them into recess, when they come back, you're going to have fewer votes. That's what happens when House members go home to districts facing something very unpopular like Donald Trump's war. It didn't seem to me there was any chance of Republicans coming back with more votes to support Donald Trump's war. And that's what we saw today.
That's absolutely right. This is an example of justice delayed, not being justice denied. We're thankful for the leadership of the once and future chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Greg Meeks, and all of the members of the House Democratic Caucus who pushed this forward. The American people have turned against this war from the very beginning. It's deeply unpopular. The war has actually made life more expensive for the American people. Gas prices are through the roof. This is already on top of a failing Trump Republican economy and the Trump tariffs, which have caused prices to increase by thousands of dollars per year for everyday Americans. And as of the moment, Iran is in a stronger position than they were prior to the war being started, particularly because they have control of the Strait of Hormuz. And so what we need at this moment is for Senate Republicans to do the right thing. Now that the House has acted decisively, reclaim our authority as the only branch of government with the power to declare war. That hasn't happened. We need to end this and end this now. And Republicans in the Senate can do the right thing by the American people over the next few days. And we're hopeful that they'll do just that.
House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries, thank you very much for starting off our coverage tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. We have 2 senators joining us tonight who will be voting on the confirmation of Donald Trump's next attorney general. Senator Jon Ossoff is joining us, as is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He will be questioning Donald Trump's nominee for attorney general, if that is Todd Blanche or whoever that turns out to be, in the Judiciary Committee. Both senators will be coming up and joining us. We'll be right back. The breaking news at this hour is that Donald Trump plans to nominate Todd Blanche as Attorney General. MS Now is reporting Donald Trump is expected to nominate acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to serve in the role permanently in the coming days. A senior administration official confirmed to MS Now. Senator Jon Ossoff will be joining us in a moment, as will Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. We will get their reaction to this possible nomination. They will both be voting on the next Attorney General nomination. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a member of the Judiciary Committee, will be asking questions in that Senate confirmation hearing. And once again today, Donald Trump insulted every Republican in Congress, especially every Republican senator. Donald Trump did that by outdoing himself once again in making a breathtakingly dangerous, not just stupid, but dangerous choice for the acting director of national intelligence, which Donald Trump declared to be a part-time job now. Donald Trump chose a starkly ignorant, incompetent William Pulte to be the acting director of national intelligence, replacing the Senate-confirmed Tulsi Gabbard, while Pulte continues his job as director of the Federal Housing Agency. Done well, both of those jobs are more than full-time jobs, but William Pulte is incapable of doing any government job well, as he has already demonstrated. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said that Pulte absolutely could not be confirmed if Donald Trump actually nominated him for the job. But because John Thune is a Republican afraid of Donald Trump's bark, John Thune didn't exactly put it that way, but that is exactly what the Senate Majority Leader's words mean.
Well, we don't need a weaponized DNI in a professional sense. If he's somebody that wanted that position permanently, he's got, as you all know, a lengthy road ahead of him.
Republican Senator Bill Cassidy said this.
Nothing that I hear suggests that he's competent for the job for which he's been appointed. And I say that because that's just kind of the kind of conversation among my colleagues, like, OMG. And so I just don't know the guy. But as one person said, he has no military background, no intelligence background. He's going to already keep his other job. And he's not even sure he has a security clearance.
And Republican senators running for re-election have a new problem: how to defend Donald Trump's deranged choice to run America's intelligence gathering system. Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine said, quote, "I do not know Mr. Pulte at all. I don't know whether he has any intelligence or military background. I don't even know whether he has a security clearance." Every Republican candidate for Senate now needs to be asked their position on Donald Trump's profoundly dangerous choice of an absurdly unqualified acting director of national intelligence during wartime. In a Senate re-election campaign speech, our next guest, Senator Jon Ossoff, a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, had this to say about Donald Trump's war in Iran.
This war in Iran is the worst foreign policy blunder since Iraq. And just like the Iraq War, it's a war built on lies. Let's just update the record. On day one of the war, day one, the president said it was running ahead of schedule. On day 10, he said it was very complete. Day 21, getting very close. Day 32, leaving very soon. On day 39, the President of the United States said a whole civilization will die tonight. And on the next day, day 40, he declared total and complete victory. Day 67, great progress. Day 79, the clock is ticking. Today is day 92. And on day 92, Iran's ballistic missiles and drones have not been destroyed. The Strait of Hormuz, which was open before the war, is still closed. The regime is intact, along with its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. A stockpile Iran only built after President Trump shredded President Obama's Iran deal. You remember that? Just weeks into this war, they said they'd need $200 billion to fund it. Let me put that in perspective for you. $200 billion would fund a decade, 10 full years of nationwide universal pre-kindergarten. The America First president who said he would end foreign wars to put America first and focus on America's working class. Instead, now he says, quote, it's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, or Medicare. Now he says all we can afford is war.
Joining us now is Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff, running for re-election in Georgia. He is a member of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Senator Ossoff, I want to get to the Intelligence Committee's interest in the new acting director of national intelligence, but let me begin with the question of Donald Trump reportedly tonight deciding to nominate as Attorney General his acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, who was a participant or if the author of the Trump slush fund, the Trump basic pardon, basically, for any possible tax crimes during his presidency, and so many other issues. What would be your view of that nomination in the United States Senate when it comes to confirmation?
Thanks for having me, Lawrence. And there is no world in which Todd Blanche could earn my vote. As far as I'm concerned, Todd Blanche should resign as acting Attorney General. And remember, he represented Donald Trump when it came to the January 6th insurrection and his trial in the Senate. He appears to be the architect of this possibly illegal and fraudulent deal to try to build a $1.8 billion slush fund for Jan 6 foot soldiers and the president's cronies. And don't forget to try to grant the president immunity for investigations of tax fraud. Todd Blanche is a crony. Todd Blanche is a loyalist. He has no business as the nation's top law enforcement official. But let me just remind folks of the following. If we want to stop these spectacularly incompetent, these loyalist nominees from getting confirmed in the United States Senate, we're going to have to stop relying on a few Republican senators to suddenly discover their courage and integrity. We're going to have to win the majority in the United States Senate. And I want to give folks a reality check because I appreciate that there's tremendous confidence building in the strength of this wave building nationally. But I want to remind folks that national Republican groups and super PACs have double the money of national Democratic groups. And I am running in Georgia, the most competitive and crucial battleground state in the country. I will have hundreds of millions of dollars spent to try to unseat me. I'm the only Democratic senator running for re-election in a state that Donald Trump won, and we cannot win the Senate majority without winning in Georgia, which is why I'm asking everybody to take a moment right now, pull out your phone or your laptop, go to electjon.com, electjon.com, and chip in so I can get out the vote, defend voting rights, and prosecute the case against the two Trump puppets who are challenging me.
The simple thought exercise is if the Democrats had a majority of one right now in the United States Senate, Todd Blanche couldn't possibly be nominated as Attorney General.
Without question. As it stands now, we're going to be asking whether or not folks like John Cornyn and Bill Cassidy will suddenly discover that rubber stamping this president's not just incompetent, but dangerous and destructive nominees is a fundamental dereliction of their constitutional obligations to the United States. And you were talking about Bill Pulte earlier. This is the single most dangerous appointment that this president has yet attempted to make.
Senator,
the fact that, go ahead, Lawrence.
I hate to interrupt you, but just for, I'd love to insert a commercial break right here and come back and have you talk about this from your expertise on the Senate Intelligence Committee about this new choice for acting director of national intelligence, which is beyond shocking. We're going to be right back with Senator Jon Ossoff. Senator Jon Ossoff is back with us. I interrupted you in what you were saying about Donald Trump's choice for acting director of national intelligence. Please go ahead, Senator.
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence. Look, director of national intelligence. This person will sit atop the most powerful intelligence collection apparatus ever built in the history of humankind. And to put a completely unqualified political hack in that position, in my view, signals an unmistakable ambition to deepen the politicization and abuse of America's intelligence community. We already saw what Tulsi Gabbard did in Fulton County, the nation's top spy coming down to my state of Georgia and overseeing a ballot raid. This has to be stopped in its tracks. We need Senate Republicans to have some spine and say enough is enough, because this man is a threat to our civil liberties in this job. It's not just that he's unqualified. Remember what he did at the FHFA. He trawled through federal records to find derogatory information about the president's political adversaries and then shoveled it to the Department of Justice to try to get them prosecuted. He did that to sitting Democratic members of Congress. And again, here's the bottom line, folks. If you have had enough of the corruption, the grotesque abuses of power, and you want to help make a difference right now, help me win this Senate race in Georgia by going to electjohn.com and supporting me in the most crucial and competitive Senate race in the country.
From your perspective on the Senate Intelligence Committee, what can be done about this? We have Republican senators who think this is a terrible choice for acting director of national intelligence, saying, hey, there's nothing we can do because the Senate has no control over choices for acting secretaries or acting directors.
Well, we have to examine all of the levers of power at our disposal right now. And I can tell you that Democrats on the Senate Intelligence Committee are right now taking stock of every action we can take in order to stop this disastrous interim appointment as acting DNI. And it's also incumbent upon everybody here in the nation's capital to put cameras and microphones in front of these Republican senators and demand they get on the record about this disastrous appointment.
What about going forward? People like Susan Collins and others who are saying, I'm not sure about this guy. She's running for re-election. This is an issue in her re-election and other Republican senators.
It is, and so will be her vote on Mr. Blanche. You know, these sitting Republican senators, some of them recently at least criticized the slush fund for Jan 6th insurrectionists. But what I want folks to know about Georgia is that both of my Republican opponents, these two MAGA fanatic Trump puppets, as recently as last weekend, enthusiastically endorsed the slush fund for January 6th insurrectionists, enthusiastically endorsed the Jeffrey Epstein Memorial Ballroom, because they're in this runoff in Georgia and currying favor with the president. They have been pulled so far to the right, it's going to be a real problem for them in the general election.
Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And coming up, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse is a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which means he will be questioning the next Attorney General nominee in that Senate confirmation hearing, whenever that happens. Senator Whitehouse will join us next. The breaking news of this hour is that MS Now is reporting Donald Trump is expected to nominate the acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, to serve in the role permanently in the coming days. A senior administration official confirmed to MS Now. Todd Blanche, who was Donald Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer, yesterday said that the Trump slush fund to pay the January 6th attackers of the Capitol, which he created, is now not going to happen. But he has not issued any written document rescinding the written document he issued before to create the slush fund. And at the same time, Todd Blanche says that the separate deal that he personally put in writing, saying that Donald Trump and his family cannot ever be investigated for anything involving their current and past tax returns, will remain in effect. Now, that is obviously an unenforceable, apparently fraudulent deal for Donald Trump, which no future Justice Department would be bound by. He'll be questioned about that in his Senate confirmation hearing, but the question now is, will the Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee enter the conspiracy of silence that Republicans on the Senate Finance Committee created today to protect Todd Blanche and anyone else involved in creation of the Trump slush fund and the Trump immunity from tax crimes possibly committed while president? Let's listen to Senator Sheldon Whitehouse trying to penetrate that with the Treasury Secretary.
I'm unable to discuss most of this because of ongoing litigation.
Yeah, I know everybody likes to say that, but the constitutional...
We like to follow the law, Senator.
And the law is that the Congress has constitutional oversight functions that do not disappear simply because there is litigation, however convenient it may be, by way of providing answers. Was there any consideration to the government in return for the benefits of no audit, no investigation, no challenge or pursuit of refunds or other penalties?
Again, Senator, I'm unable to comment because of litigation.
It's a very simple fact question. Was there or was there not consideration?
Again, there's ongoing litigation, and I suggest that you speak with the Treasury attorneys.
If this kind of behavior is okay with the chairman, I'll just pursue other questions. But, you know, what goes around comes around in terms of dodging questions.
I believe it's very clear that witnesses of any kind cannot discuss ongoing litigation.
They can certainly discuss a fact that they are aware of. Was there a defense analysis memo prepared by the IRS? And more specifically, did you see it?
Again, I'm not going to be able to comment on these matters.
Mr. Chairman, this just makes no sense at all. I've been a lawyer all my life. I have some idea of what is protected when you have a ongoing bit of litigation. Whether this individual has seen an official memo from within his own department is a very simple question to answer. And I think it's completely inappropriate to have this game of dodgem be pursued without any consequences.
Joining us now is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a member of the Senate Finance Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee. And Senator, it looks like you are going to have your work cut out for you in a Senate confirmation hearing of Todd Blanche. Will the Republicans on the Judiciary Committee try to protect him in the same way that Republicans tried to protect the Treasury Secretary today?
Expect so. They have a record, for instance, of protecting Pam Bondi when she brought her little insults list, of protecting Trump's thug Emil Bovee when they stuffed him onto the Third Circuit. The difference here is that Blanche has done some really bigly embarrassing stuff. The $1.8 billion slush fund and the Trump tax amnesty. Pam Bondi hung around his neck the catastrophic mismanagement of the Epstein files. There is presently a really unique investigation in Florida into whether Blanche committed fraud on the court as the acting attorney general. That is an allegation we've never heard before in the history of the country, and it's being investigated. So for a whole lot of reasons, this is going to be a really difficult thing as November approaches. And if you go down the Republican side, you've got John Cornyn, who just got backstabbed by Trump endorsing the impeached adulterer Paxton in Texas. Maybe Trump has a thing for impeached adulterers, but that didn't go over very well with Senator Cornyn. You go further down, and you've got Senator Tillis, who is a free agent and not putting up with a lot of Trump crap right now. You continue down the dais to Senator Moody, who is going to be in a very tough race in Florida against the very talented Alex Vindman, who your viewers will remember as a witness against Trump in the impeachment on the Ukraine deal. So that's just 3 who will face real personal risk here. So we've gone from the Trump thug moment where they all have to obediently obey to now what I call the Blazing Saddles moment. If you remember the scene in Blazing Saddles where the governor says, boys, it's time we started looking out for our own phony baloney jobs. So, you know, this Blanche nomination is so disgusting that it's really going to put them over a barrel. And to some extent, it's like wonderful for us. Great, bring it. Pulte, this preposterous person for DNI, and Blanche at the same time for, I mean, it's almost like Trump wants to take the party down with him now that he senses that his presidency is failing. He just keeps putting these horrible presentations, choices in front of his senators.
When you went down that list of Republicans on the Judiciary Committee and the possible questions they could raise, that looked bad enough, possibly, for Todd Blanche. Then when you go out in the Senate floor, if you get this out of the committee, you get out in the Senate floor, try to get a majority vote there. You got to get Susan Collins running in Maine to vote for this, running for re-election in Maine. You have to get Bill Cassidy to vote for this on the Senate floor. This could, it's sounding as though this could be a nomination in serious trouble.
I think it starts in serious trouble. And given the general incompetence that the Trump White House has recently displayed, the likelihood that they did the basic due diligence of going down the roster of the Republicans on the Judiciary Committee to make sure they had at least those votes pinned down probably wasn't done. I would very much doubt that Thom Tillis has given his thumbs up to Blanche for Attorney General, or Cornyn, or Moody, or frankly, any of them, because this is a deeply, deeply embarrassing choice. An individual who's completely disgraced himself as acting attorney general and deputy attorney general. I mean, the department is in total disarray. The fraud on the court, the illegal U.S. attorney appointments, the unprecedented professional failures, the throwing out of indictments, the loss to the Department of Justice of its presumption of regularity. Those are extraordinary things. They've all happened under Blanche's watch. He owns that whole stinking mess.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, great to have you with us on this night with this breaking news that we did not know was happening, but we're really lucky to have you on the night that we got it. Thank you very much, Senator.
Good to be on.
We'll be right back.